Okay, so I need to subtract these two real numbers. So remembering that subtraction is addition of the opposite here. So that means that I'm going to have a negative 2.5, and then plus, and then the opposite of a negative is a positive, so 4 and 2/5. So that means with integers I would subtract the big number minus the small number. So that means that I'm going to have 4 and 2/5, and then I'm going to subtract 2 and 1/2. Now, of course, when we're doing fractions, we need to remember that we need to have a least common denominator and higher terms so we can subtract. So since how 10 and 5 and 2 are both prime, that means their product is my least common denominator. So to get from 5 to 10, I must multiply by 2. So whatever I do to the denominator, I do to the numerator. So 2 times 2 is 4. And then 2 times 5, that gives me 10. So whatever I do to the numerator, denominator, I do to the numerator. And 1 times 5 is 5. Now 4 times 5 won't work because that's not able to be subtracted. So I'm going to borrow. So I'm going to make the 4 a 3. And then I'm going to take that value and I'm going to add it in over here as 10 over 10. So now I have 14 out of, now I have 14, which I can't get it to write, 14 out of 10, and I'm going to subtract from that 5 out of 10. So 14 minus 5 is 9, and those are tenths, and then I can come back over here and subtract the whole numbers, 3 minus 2, which is 1. So there's my number, 1 and 9/10. It is positive because the larger number is positive, the smaller is negative. Now moving on to the next one, I need to find a least common denominator for this. So 15 is 3 times 5, and 24 is 8 times 3, and 8 is 2 times 2 times 2, or 2 cubed, times 3. So my least common denominator, it's going to have the prime factors that are unique that I see up here. So I see some 2's and I see some 3's and I see some 5's. So it's going to have 2's, it's going to have 3's, and it's going to have 5's in it. And the 2's, oh, I see the biggest exponent is 3 there, so that's it. And I've got a 3 to the first and I've got a 3 to the first. So I'm just going to put a 3 to the first in. Highest exponent, not total. And then the 5, that's the only one there, it's to the first power. So that means my least common denominator is going to look like 2 cubed, which is 8, times, and then I have 5, and then 5 times 3. And 8 times 5, which is 40. Now remember that order doesn't matter in multiplication as long as I'm just doing the multiplication of one number times another and wrapping it up. And then 4 times 3, which is 120. 4 times 3 is 12, and then that extra 0. So I would have to build the higher terms, pardon me, to 120 here. So 120 there, 120 here. And so I asked myself 15 times what gives me 120? Well, 15 is right here. So 15 times 8 is what gives me 120. And so in 11 times 8, which is 88, and I don't want to forget that that's a negative number. Now 24 times what gives me 120? Well, 24, let me do a highlight here. 8 times 3 is 24. So that leaves me with times 5 here. So I need to multiply 24 by 5 in order to get 120. So the numerator must be multiplied by 5 as well. So 5 times 7 is 35. Now with those, I can go ahead and I can add up the numerators and carry along the common denominator. So in this one, I have 88 minus 35. So 88 minus 35. So we have 8 minus 5, which is 3, and 8 minus 3, which is 5, and the bigger number is negative, so this is going to be a negative 53. Now, I know that 120 is made up of 8s, 3s, and 5s. So 53, I just need to know if there are any 8s, 3s, or 5s in it. And so I know there's no 8s in it because 8 goes into 56, and pardon me, and 8 goes into 48, but it does not go into 53. It doesn't end in a 5, so I know it's not divisible by 5. And the digits don't add to something that's divisible by 3, so it's not divisible by 3. And therefore, I know I'm done with that one.